All right, I'd like to call the regular monthly meeting of April 26, 2018 to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Franco?
Present.
Mr. Klein?
Present.
Dr. Cohen?
Here.
Ms. Quackenbush?
Here.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Here.
Mr. Spindell?
Present.
Mrs. Wallace?
Here.
Mr. Barbarulo? Mr. Banza?
Here. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law is enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of the public bodies in which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this Act, the Fair Lawn Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having a date, time, and place thereof distributed to the persons on the approved list, posted in the Board of Education Administrative Office, and sent to the Bergen Record and the Star Ledger. The announcement posting for the regular monthly meeting, along with the date, time, and place thereof, was distributed on March 9, 2018. The items to be discussed during the closed work session of April 26, 2018 may include personnel matters, student matters, legal matters, negotiations, and/or grievances, and tactics and techniques utilized in protecting public safety and property. The results of these discussions will be made public as soon as possible. Would you join me in a flag salute, please? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, this time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Dr. Paleskas. He has some comments.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our meeting. I just have a few brief announcements. The first is that we need another approval of a calendar change. So if you recall, at Warren Point School in the fall, there was a fire in which we had to close school for that day. Now, because we exceeded our snow days, we had to make up days during spring recess, but that put Warren Point behind. So there will be a makeup day on June 8th. It's a one-half day schedule for students. The afternoon, the teachers will still be able to have their professional development available on the 8th. And then it's my pleasure to introduce Brooke, who will spend just a few minutes about finalizing the budget.
Okay, thank you everybody for coming. I put out for everybody's use a copy of the PowerPoint. Nothing has changed with the budget since our preliminary adoption in March. We've been approved by the county. There has been no notice of additional state aid. So you can review the PowerPoint, and if anyone has any questions, I'd like to open up for questions at this time.
Board members, any questions on the budget? Members of the audience, any questions just on the budget for now?
Can I ask you a question about the Warren Point thing?
Sure, yeah.
Kelly
Yes.
Sullivan.
Just wanted, we're going to start something new based on a conversation we had with school boards. When people speak, we're going to ask them to stand up to the podium and just sign in. So Kelly, if you could just do that for me. You'll be blazing a trail here. All right, good job.
Me first.
No, I'm just curious, when Sandy hit and district was closed for flooding and a variety of reasons, Radburn stayed closed 1 day or 2 days longer than the rest of the district, and we were never forced to make up those days. So I'm just wondering why this year, with Warren Point just being closed that 1 day because of the fire, why do they have to make up that day?
Because we use all our snow days and then some. So they only have 179 days.
And the year that Sandy hit, we didn't use all their snow days in October?
I don't have a
Myself to
specific
stand there? Sorry.
Yeah, stay there.
I don't do anything wrong!
So what happens when you're first? Let me add also that I appeal to
She's talking about
the,
Radburn now.
I appeal to the county.
But back
We must have made 180 days. It must have been 180 days.
Yeah, it had to be.
Is the 180 days according to the high school calendar or according to
State-
the
it is-
entire
it is
district?
state law.
But every single school in
Yep.
the district has to be open 180 days?
Yes.
Every
Is
single
that
school
year
in New
Radburn
Jersey
wasn't?
that's a public
I
school.
don't think that's correct, but I don't have a specific recollection. I don't.
Perhaps
I just
the
know
state-
that Radburn was
perhaps
closed,
the state
because I had
had
one
it.
child at Radburn, and I had one child at TJ, and one child at the high school
No,
that
they
year.
didn't,
And I made my other
they
two
did not
kids go to
excuse
school,
180
and the
days.
Radburn kid got to stay home. That's the only reason I know, and I was talking, as a sub in district, I was talking to some of the teachers at Warren Point, and they're not particularly happy about having to make up the day, obviously,
Yeah.
because it wasn't their fault, there was a fire, and if the law's written that it's, the high school really carries the district.
No,
which is
that's
what
not
I've
the
always
law.
understood.
It's not.
That's not the law.
Okay.
The law is, every student
Every
must
child.
be, every school must be open 180 days.
Okay.
Does Paul have anything?
Paul, do you have something to say to that?
My recollection is, Sandy, they did not give any waivers. We must have hit the 180 days somehow.
Okay. Mike?
I do recall there being something that, I think I was present that year, I was present that year. There was something, it was partly in the interpretation of Mr. Watson, but I think it was a different situation because of the storm, the far-reaching bit of the storm.
Well-
I know in my district, the same thing happens. There was water main breaks and stuff like that, and the kids are going, those schools are going, that school is going the extra days. And the Warren Point teachers, no offense, but school was open that day for teachers anyway, so it was just an in-service day, so.
I
So
just
I
want
don't see
to,
it.
I want to point out that I appealed this to the Department of Education, and the Department of Education is very clear. Every school in New Jersey must have a 180-day school year. So I did follow up on behalf of the students and staff, and that's the ruling from the state. So we really have no choice. The consequence of not having a 180-day school year is a loss of state aid. So we have to do it.
Okay. Thank you, Ernie. Okay, any questions on the budget, or actually, the other item? No? All right, can I have a motion to accept B1?
So, second,
Have a roll call, please?
Wait, is there discussion on the motion?
I just asked and nobody said anything.
I thought it was questions, you just said questions about the budget, you didn't say
Well, no.
comments.
All right, when I say questions, I mean questions or comments. So, go ahead, Emma.
Okay, so I have prepared this statement on my current position concerning the introduction of SR3s for our elementary schools and Edison. SR3s are retired police officers who would be under the supervision of the Fairlawn Chief of Police, not the school administration. Building from the model of the SR3 program in our middle schools, as well as an active duty senior resource officer in our high school, the additional SR3s would be stationed at each of our 6 elementary schools plus Edison. The officers would be in uniform with a gun and would have a police car stationed in front of each of their respective school buildings. I prepared this because we are voting on a budget that includes funds to introduce SR3s into the elementary schools. To state my position clearly, I am not against expanding retired police officers in our elementary schools. However, I cannot tend to vote in favor of setting aside tax levy revenue for this expansion until the role and purpose of the officers at the lower grade levels has been more clearly defined. I realize that many people who care deeply about our schools and who carry a strong voice in our community have spoken out in favor of the immediate expansion. I also realize that my position is in contrast to that of many of my board colleagues. Politically, it would be much, much easier for me to go along with those in support of budgeting money for the SR3 officers in the lower grade levels for this coming fall. But this is a case where I feel compelled to put good policymaking ahead of potential politics. I hope people can respect that and remain open to my voice, even if it is a voice that differs from their own. Now, I will explain the rationale for my current position. There are two main arguments that various stakeholders have offered regarding the perceived benefits of placing SR3s in the elementary schools. I'm going to state each of them in my thoughts and response. Actually, I'm not going to go into it because I respect people's time and I'm sure you don't want to really hear it, but if anybody does want to hear it after the meeting, I'd be happy to do it. I'll just say, I think a reasonable next step toward planning for the expansion of SR3s in our schools is to first hire a school security director for our district. As our chief school administrator has said himself, school security has become a very specialized area of administration that goes beyond the typical skill set and expertise of the superintendent. My hope is that the school security director, who we're planning to hire this summer, can work closely with the chief of police over the coming school year and to answer many lingering questions about the implementation of the SR3s in the lower grade levels. Examples of such questions would include, What would be the day-to-day role of the SR3s in the elementary schools? How would they be involved in issues of student conduct and discipline, especially those that involve physical violence? How would their role be similar or different from the officers already involved in community policing at the elementary schools? What procedures will be in place to ensure smooth coordination between the security director and the chief of police, especially as it concerns the SR3s? Is the 40-hour mandated state training for SR3s sufficient for placement in our Fairlawn elementary schools, or would we need additional training for them in this setting? How can the SR3s position themselves within the elementary schools, especially given the fact that these buildings are generally smaller than the middle schools and high schools, so as not to heighten students' feelings of anxiety, nor to encourage the belief that people are only safe when there is an armed officer? And finally, most importantly to me personally, how does the SR3 expansion complement other efforts to enhance safety in our schools? Please note that I am not asking for the administration to provide scientific evidence that SR3s in the elementary schools can save lives. I know this is an impossible question to answer at this time because no such robust evidence exists. All we have are anecdotes and theories one way or the other. That being said, I do think the questions that I asked around the planning and implementation of SR3s are reasonable and common sense. And I have great faith in our district, borough, and community at large that we can reasonably answer these questions with the right mix of experts in place and with more time. So for now, I will be abstaining on the budget vote, given that I am procedurally unable to vote yes for some parts of the proposed budget and no for others. Regardless, I remain hopeful that I will be able to vote yes on a budget next year that includes funds for a more planned out SR3 program for the lower grade levels. In the meantime, I encourage community members, board colleagues, and other stakeholder groups to continue to engage in productive conversation around issues such as these, issues that so many of us care so much about and that truly matter for the future of our schools. Thank you.
Jeff, you want to say something?
Emily, I agree with everything you said, but I have to admit that we need the budget passed, and I think I want to play that out another day when it's the time to do it. I would encourage you to vote for the budget because we have to pay our people, we have to keep the lights on, we got to buy books and desks and provide for them, and that's what the budget essentially does. I will repeat, I totally agree with your statements, but I'm going to fight that battle another day.
That Jeff?
Yeah, thank you.
Ron?
If I'm to understand, we put the money in the budget to make sure if we go ahead with this, that we have the money there. We have not fully, because of our shared services meeting and other research that we're doing, have made it clear and heard from some community members that it's definitely happening, that we're definitely putting them in. Am I understanding that correctly, or am I wrong?
The money's in the budget.
The money's in the budget, but it's not guaranteeing that we're gonna put the special 3 officers in there yet.
We would need a memorandum of agreement with the municipality.
Yeah, we have to talk, we have to, so that's just this, we're voting on the monies in the budget in case we do that, because we've also discussed with the town about sharing and so on and so forth, and we need a memorandum of agreement with the town, correct?
That's correct.
So all I'm voting for is the money is in the budget, so in case we go ahead with it, we're covered with it. Thank you.
Elise?
Just as an aside, we received an email that actually proves that a SR3 has a positive valuable role because they saved a student's life in a school that was choking. So if you're looking for any kind of statistics, that's at least one statistic that's documented that I just thought I would bring that forward at this time.
Thank you, and I just, I guess it's time to bring it up. I met with PTA Council on Tuesday, and they said, do you have anything to talk about? And I said, I'm here to listen. I said, I want to know your opinion on special threes in the elementary schools. And all 15 of them were in full agreement that we should have it. They want to see planning, they want to see job descriptions, but they don't want to wait another year. So, the community leaders in each school agree that this is something that they'd like to see done. They want to see other things done. They want to see improvements in cameras. They want to have discussions about other ways to improve safety. But the PTA presidents and vice presidents, every single one of them, agreed that this was a good idea. So, that being said, like Ron said, this money's in the budget. If it doesn't make it through, it doesn't make it through with the town, and we'll start from there. But I just want to make it clear that there is a group of people, a large group of people that think this is a good idea. So, anyway, that being said, any other comments from the board on the budget? Or questions? Okay, have a roll call, please.
Mrs. Frankel?
Yes.
Ms. Quackenbush.
Yes.
Mr. Spindell.
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg.
Yes.
Dr. Cohen. Mr. Barbarulo.
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace.
Yes.
Mr. Klein.
Yes.
Mr. Banta.
Yes. Okay, G1, approval of minutes. That's it on G? Okay, motion on G1.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or comments on the minutes? Board members? Questions, comments on the minutes? Audience? Seeing none, roll call please.
Mr. Barbarulo.
Yes.
Dr. Cohen.
Yes.
Mrs. Frankel.
Yes.
Mr. Klein.
Yes.
Ms. Quackenbush.
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg.
Yes.
Mr. Spindell.
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace.
Yes.
Mr. Banta.
Yes. S1, retirement resolution, S2, no, S1, ABC, S2, approval of, S2, no items, S3, no items, S4, other business. May I have a motion for items S1 through S4?
Second.
Okay, S1A, Mark, would you read that?
Sure.
Thank you.
Resolution regarding the retirement of Joanne DeGennaro. Whereas Joanne DeGennaro has dedicated herself to the Fairlawn School District as a security aide at Fairlawn High School since 2003, displaying an unselfish commitment to our children, exemplifying the ideals of professionalism and the standard of excellence, has requested retirement at the end of the day on June 30th, 2018. And whereas the Fairlawn School District Board of Education, together with its citizens, wishes to acknowledge exemplary service that Joanne DeGennaro has provided to our children. And now therefore be it resolved that the Fairlawn School District Board of Education does hereby extend its appreciation and its gratitude to Joanne DeGennaro in recognition of her exemplary service to our school district. And be it further resolved that the Fairlawn Board of Education be directed to spread this resolution in full upon the minutes and dispatch a copy thereof to Mrs. Joanne DeGennaro.
Thank you, Mark. Ron, would you read B?
Sure. Resolution regarding the retirement of Robert Smith. Whereas Robert Smith has dedicated himself to the Fairlawn School District as a buildings and groundsman since 1984, displaying an unselfish commitment to our district's buildings and grounds, our children, exemplifying the ideas of professionalism and the standard of excellence, has requested retirement at the end of the day on July 31st, 2018. And whereas the Fairlawn School District Board of Education, together with its citizens, wishes to acknowledge exemplary service that Robert Smith has provided to our buildings and grounds and our children. And now therefore be it resolved that the Fairlawn School District Board of Education does hereby extend its appreciation and gratitude to Robert Smith in recognition of his exemplary service to our school district. And be it further resolved that the Fairlawn Board of Education be directed to spread this resolution in full upon the minutes and dispatch a copy thereof to Mr. Robert Smith.
Thank you, Ron. And Cindy, would you read C?
Yes. Resolution regarding the retirement of Alan B. Clements. Whereas Alan B. Clements has dedicated himself to the Fairlawn School District as a health and physical education teacher since 1993, displaying an unselfish commitment to our children, exemplifying the ideals of professionalism and the standard of excellence, has requested retirement at the end of the day on December 31st, 2018. And whereas the Fairlawn School District Board of Education, together with its citizens, wishes to acknowledge exemplary service that Alan B. Clements has provided our children. And now therefore be it resolved that the Fairlawn School District Board of Education does hereby extend its appreciation and gratitude to Alan B. Clements in recognition of his exemplary service to our school district. And be it further resolved that the Fairlawn Board of Education be directed to spread this resolution in full upon the minutes and dispatch a copy thereof to Mr. Alan B. Clements.
Thank you, Cindy. Any members of the board have questions, comments? Mary?
Yes, okay. I'll start with Al, because I know Al for a long time, having been in the school district. He was my daughter's phys ed teacher and health teacher, and a wonderful person. I wish him a wonderful retirement. Bob Smith, I have also worked with for many years, both when I was fleet president and also when he's been on the custodial negotiations team for quite a while. And we've worked together, and again, I wish him well. And probably most of you don't know Joanne DeGennaro, but I do.
And she has been the security aide at the high school for a long time. She is a lovely person. And I know her as a parent because my daughter and her son Vinny went to school together. And I also wish her a wonderful retirement. All three of these people have certainly served the district, and we have benefited from having all three of them in our district.
Thank you, Mayor. Anyone else? Mike?
So as far as Joanne DeGenero, I don't know her personally, but the job of the security aide in the high school has changed and really evolved over the years with the climate. So I wish her a lot of retirement, and I'm sure that position changed for her. Robert Smith, congratulations on your retirement. And Al Clements, I happened to, when I did my student teaching many years ago, his son was in the class. So wonderful physical education teacher, coached for many years. I wish him well in retirement.
Thank you, Mike. Cindy?
I'd like to wish everyone a lot of success and happiness in their retirement. I just wanted to say a couple words about Alan. He was my daughter's basketball coach in high school, and he came down to the all sport level quite frequently, you know, and nurtured the girls. We had a very successful basketball team at the time that my daughter was playing, and he would give up a lot of his time to come down and help the girls. And he coached our basketball team for a number of years. My daughter has a lot of respect for him. Both my children had him for phys ed and for health. And he is a gentle, kind Southern man. I love his Southern accent, and I am thrilled to death that he is going to be going back to Nashville, his home roots, and be with his mom, who's still with him. And I wish him a lot of success, and I will miss him.
Anyone else? Yeah, I don't know Joanne, but Bob Smith I know from way back when he was the only man in the secretarial unit when he was the printer.
That's right.
And then we moved that around. We made him a groundsman, and he does a great job. Alan, my daughter, and his daughter were very, very close in high school, and the kids loved to hang out at his house. They just thought he was the greatest, and he is a nice guy, and that Southern accent. Hey, Hunter. His daughter's name is Hunter, but it's Hunter, and he's thrilled to be going back to Tennessee.
Yes.
So I wish him the best of luck in retirement. Any members of the audience? No. Have roll call?
Jim.
Oh, what? I'm sorry.
Jim.
Jim, you got to go to the podium. I didn't see you.
No, he's good, you're good to go. He said you can go. No, I wasn't ready.
Jim,
You're Jim.
Jim, go.
You're
Shoot.
Jim.
You gotta go to the podium.
Got to go to the podium now.
Gotta go to the
There's a new rule. Serious? I'm serious. Yes.
Seriously.
Jim, don't stand in the bathroom.
Yes, we stole it from you. You can have it back tomorrow.
I wish I would have done from there. Joanne DeGenero, Joanne, you know, Mike said security is extremely important in every building, and especially so at the high school, with the size of our school, the number of kids we have, the number of issues we have. Joanne is much more than a security aide. Joanne is much more than somebody who takes care of, makes sure the doors are locked, make sure that she has been, and I can say this because she is a grandmother. She's been a grandmother to our students. She is such a kind woman, and with some of our most fragile and kids who need the most help, she takes them under her wing. She watches for them all day. She would have been a fantastic teacher. She would have been fantastic. She just, what she does is very special for Fairlawn High School. We won't be able to replace her spirit and what she does for our kids. She's much more than just somebody who takes care of security. She takes care of our kids. And for that, I want to just publicly thank her because she really has done a fantastic job. And we're going to miss Joanne. Al Clemens, again, I can just repeat what was said about Al. Al has been more than a phys ed teacher. He's coached multiple sports. He's been involved in the building for years in many different activities. And again, he's very happy that he's going to be going back to his beloved Tennessee and be with his mom and do that. So we wish Al a lot of luck, and we're going to miss Al too. And if Corey were here, Corey Robinson, the AD, I'm sure he would say Smitty, we call him Smitty, Bob Smith, has done a fantastic job for all of our athletic program, all of our needs at the high school as far as the grounds going. We have a lot of grounds to take care of up there. And Smitty did a fantastic job for us, so on behalf of Corey and the athletic department, I'll just say thank you to him, so thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, anyone else? Dawn?
Dawn Ebner from the high school, just to speak on behalf of, I don't know the groundsman, but I do know obviously Al Clemens, fellow colleague in the Health and Physical Education Department. And as everybody mentioned, he coached volleyball, he coached basketball. And actually, for a period of time while he was coaching basketball, I was one of the assistant coaches working along directly with Al. So, and the biggest thing that I can say about Al relative to his teaching and his role in school is that the kids love him. He has a great rapport and a great relationship with the kids. And so I just want to, publicly say that because he will be missed by a lot of the students at the high school. And then the second person, Joyanne. I've known Joyanne for quite some time, and I'm actually friends with Joyanne besides working in the district. And as to echo what Jim was saying, she's there for the kids all the time. It's not just close the door or get somebody and bring them down to the office. She's there to assist them in so many different facets, and just a really, really nice, good person. If you want to meet a good person, meet Joyanne. You will say this is just a wonderful person. So I wish both of them the best of luck in their retirement, and they will certainly be missed by me and a lot of the other staff at the high school. So thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. Okay, anyone else? Okay, seeing none, could I have roll call, please?
On just those items or all? You're asking
Everything.
for? Okay. Dr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mrs. Franco?
Yes.
Ms. Quackenbush?
Yes.
Mr. Spindell?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Barbarulo?
Yes.
Mr. Vanta?
Yes. E1, attendance at conference, conventions, workshops. E2, approval of extracurricular trips. E3, approval of student, teachers, interns, practicums, field observation placement. E4, approval of bedside home instruction. E5, curriculum, textbook, and material adoptions. E6, grants and entitlements. E7, no items. E8, summer programs, workshops, summer school. E9 and E10, no items. E11, approval of educational, academic, proprietary computer software contract, Nucella, New York City, New York. And that's it. Can I have a motion on E1 through E11?
So moved.
Second.
Members of the board, questions or comments? Mike?
Just on E11, I'm newly using Newsela in my classroom, and it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful tool for the kids and the teachers. Glad to see it.
Emily and then Ron.
Just to follow up, can you explain a little bit more for those of us who are familiar with that, what it is, and also the new science material for biology that involves as well?
So Newsela is basically a differentiated high interest reading online, so it provides reading material for a variety of levels. Use a lot in social studies, a great deal in social studies, lots of nonfiction texts, ELA, science. So it's basically to help differentiate for the students, and then high interest online stuff. You can probably explain it a little bit more.
Different tactile levels. So so it levels the students' reading.
Right.
So if you have a low reader, you can lower the and the teacher could do that, and the student could do that, depending on how you
So you can
how
read
that
about,
teacher sets it up.
you can read about the same topic on a variety of different levels.
High interest, low readability.
Right, if necessary.
It
The biology piece, that was sent home in an update a while back. I'm just trying to find that information, so just bear with me.
Sorry, I didn't ask you again.
No, that's okay, I'm just, I'm looking for it. So, we are adopting a new series for high school biology, and so it's the SEPA program, and it's for academic biology, CP biology. We're only getting books for the classroom, just the classroom set, everything else is online, all the materials and all the resources, lots of online resources for students and teachers. Ron Durso came and presented on it. I don't have a lot of other details with me, he had presented, so, okay. I can get you more information if you want.
Ron?
Didn't Gary present that to us also, the
In Musella?
yeah, the
Yes,
Musella?
Musella was presented.
That was a whole thing on that, about all the
Yeah.
different reading levels and books that the
So-
kid gets. Is that something, Nick, that you are going over too, that?
I presented on Learning Ally that night.
Oh,
He
okay.
presented on Newsela.
Well, I'm saying I remember-
Education committee back in around.
Yeah, I was at an
December.
education meeting, yeah.
You're correct.
That may have been the same night that the biology was.
Yeah, I think it was the same night. No, I just wanted to say that a lot of these trips, especially for the Bridges program, I think are amazing. They're very fascinating that these children, these young people are getting to go to different things and experience that. So I really found it to be, I just want to say, I thought it was very, very good. And even like the financial literacy students going to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York City to understand that. Because, I mean, I'm not saying it in a bad way, but some of them don't even know how to write a check, so to go there and learn stuff is gonna be amazing, so. I just thought a lot of these trips, and I know some of them are the year-end trips, but I thought a lot of these trips were very, very educational, very helpful to the students, so glad to see all that stuff that's been put in.
And that's thanks to your support as well, so we
No
really
problem.
appreciate it.
Jeff and then Mike.
Yeah, just to piggyback on what Ron said, you know, there's a lot of research in education, especially lately, that discusses celebrating learning and how it is very important to school climate and how it's encouraging for students and actually helps kids learn better and become more connected to their school. So I also agree that these field trips are wonderful things, even if they have no or little direct academic pieces to them, like going, whether just walking around a zoo having fun or going bowling. I think it's nice to celebrate learning and to celebrate accomplishments. It's a great thing. The other thing is that for Natalie, when it comes to the online materials, this might actually be for superintendent also, the online materials, I mean, personally, I think it's great that we're moving in that direction. My concern is, how do we know that every student has access to internet at home? And how would we find that out, and what do we do about it to make sure that those students have not only access to the internet at home, but have a device to work on their school work?
So we have extra books that if they need to borrow them, they can take them home, so they can let the teachers know, and so we have that available.
But when it comes to other things, like they have to do things on Google Classroom, or they're doing a shared document or something amongst groups, though, is it, I'm just throwing it out there that, and I would like to, maybe this would be a good idea to put on the tech agenda to make sure and to have a plan in place for students who don't have access or don't have the materials that they need. Because we are moving in a way of technology, because it is important for future learning and for workplace readiness, I think it's a shame that those students wouldn't have access to that modality. So I'd like to see if we can discuss that at a future meeting, a tech meeting, please. Thank you.
Mike then Elise.
Just real quick, there's a student out in the audience, and what I love to see is every time I see him, and everything that we seem to be talking about tonight, he's shaking his head yes. So I'm sorry to put you on the spot. I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but I think it's really interesting that everything that Natalie has said and that the board has said and about our retirees and stuff like that. He's shaking his head in agreement, so that's
TJ.
that's really, that's really.
It's also what happens when you sit in the front row.
Right. I want to welcome you to the meeting. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
By the way, he's good at making money.
What?
He likes to run fundraisers to make money.
Oh,
That's
cool.
all about that.
Elise.
I just wanted to say, just because what you said, there's other students here also, that they're more subtle. But, I just wanted to.
heads too.
Yes, they were. I saw that from my
Good
side.
job.
I just wanted to say that we are keeping the library open, longer, right? We did do that, and we were talking tonight at Student Dialogue about the Chromebooks in the library, so the students that wouldn't have it at home would be able to work at school, if that's possible for them to do that. I'm not, negating anything that you're saying, because we agree, but there are avenues for students that don't have, like at-home internet or a broken printer, at the school to actually use, the online services. If they're in the biology class, they go to the library, and the library is open later in man, so that they're able to take, Chromebooks out, and there's the desktops which they'd like to get rid of and change into something more Google friendly.
I like this.
And again, point well taken.
Is that like
Jeff
a
saying
8-track or
more and
something?
more we are getting into all of the technology, I mean, that's the direction of where everything is going,
Yeah.
even being a Google district,
Yeah.
and having to access that, it is really critical.
Floppy disk.
And available, that's,
It's critical that it's available, absolutely.
people shouldn't think that there's no availability.
Right. No, I know, you're right. I believe
Yeah,
about
but
that.
unless they play sports.
Ron.
If they
I
play
just want,
sports,
Jeff,
after school.
just to add
Yeah.
something, I will say this. Next time you do have a technology meeting, you might want to send an invitation out to the technology person on the board, the student board, because he's very good. He really is good, so he's something that you can hear from a student.
If-
They're right here.
I'd love to, if, is,
No, I'm just saying.
in a closed meeting, is that
Well, I'm saying, if it's
allowed?
an, if it's an open meeting, it's like. I was
Even in a
saying,
closed meeting. As long as you're not talking about
Yeah.
closed session items.
Right.
yeah.
All right.
No, I'm just saying, it's a thought. It's
If
good.
you want to give the administration your email?
He's not here right now.
Oh, he's not? I
No,
thought
but
the individual
we'll get
as
it
well.
for you, we'll get
Let's
it.
have that person get in
I'll
touch
get
with
it
the
for you.
administration so they can be put on the email list.
Real good.
And perhaps that individual would like to put something on the agenda as well. I'm totally open to that. I think that's great.
Okay.
I think I see teenagers all day.
Any other board members? Members in the audience?
Yeah, that's scary.
E1 through E11.
That's a good point.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Ms. Quackenbush?
Yes.
Dr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mrs. Franco?
Yes.
Mr. Barbarulo?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Findell?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
Yes. P1, approval of employment appointments. P2, approval of resignations, retirements. P3, approval of leave of absence, amendment of leave, rescission of leave. P4, change of personnel assignment status. P5, additional remuneration. P6, other business. And that's it. Can I have a motion for P1 through P6, please?
So moved.
Second.
Board members, questions or comments? Seeing none. Members of the audience, questions or comments? P1 through P6. Seeing none. Roll call, please.
Dr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mrs. Franco?
Yes.
Mr. Findell?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Ms. Quackenbush?
Yes.
Mr. Barbarulo?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
Yes. SC1, approval of tuition, transportation. SC2, approval of bedside home instruction. SC3 and 4, no items. Motion for SC1 to SC4.
So moved. Second.
Members of board, questions or comments? Seeing none. Questions, comments, members of the audience? Seeing none. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spindell?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes.
Dr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mrs. Franco?
Yes.
Mrs. Wallace?
Yes.
Ms. Quackenbush?
Yes.
Mr. Barbarulo?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
Yes. F1 and 2, no items. F3, approval of bills payable, payroll. F4, approval of bills payable. F5, approval of board secretary report. F6, approval of board treasurer's report. F7, approval of transfers. F8, no items. F9, approval of contracts, consortiums, cooperatives. F10, no items. F11, other business. I have a motion for F1 through F11, please.
So moved. That's good.
Board members, questions or comments on F1 through F11? Members of the audience, questions or comments, F1 through F... Oh, I'm sorry, Jeff, I didn't see you.
F11B, that's what we got sent home to us, the new schedule. I have a couple just quick questions. Yes, here it is. A couple quick questions. When is this being advertised to the public so they're aware?
As soon as you vote tonight, we will
Okay.
have the flyers go out for registration.
All right. And I know there was some discussion last time about the structure of it, where there were concerns from the public about at times a lack of structure and challenging to do homework and things like that. From this description that was sent us, it sounds like that is changing, and I thought maybe the public would want to hear about that.
I was gonna report on it.
Well, why don't you do it now,
As
since
we're
we're on it?
voting on that, I thought that people would want to hear that.
No problem.
Awesome. And no draft picks yet.
No problem. So last night, the finance committee met to discuss, because last month, we held the item, and it was a finance thing because we were raising the rates by 2.5, I think. What was said was basically, Mr. Shansky, first of all, said his number's always open. Is always, he's always available for comments, and he was taken a little aback because he hadn't gotten any of those negative comments before. So as soon as he heard that, he went and he spoke to one of the people that were, at least one of the people that were at the meeting last month, and a lot of the things that she had brought up to him, he had already taken care of, because he goes to every site at least once a week. What we're adding for next year is, or what he proposed to add for next year is 2 supervisors that would be, that all the parents would have access to for any, to help deal with any issues in aftercare. Also, he's gonna have a full day of training before school begins next year, that he's gonna go over all the procedures and actual how to deal with the children and stuff like that. Let me just see what I'm gonna, so, of course I have the wrong. Yes, the fees are in line with other programs of similar types throughout the county, county, especially our district factor group. That's about, did I miss anything?
Well, he's going to look at,
Oh,
for
he's
next
looking
year.
at- I'm sorry. For next year, he is going to be looking at more extra stuff that people, even people that aren't in aftercare itself, could sign up for on a tuition basis. And the only thing he has to make sure is some of the PTAs and PTOs are running programs too. So he has to make sure that we're not, we're not doing stuff differently and stuff like that. So so he's gonna be presenting that to the board at a later date, once he presents it to the administration, and the administration is gonna come and present it to the board, hopefully, probably at a work session.
Thanks, Mike. Mark?
Yes, we're asking our residents to pay a $20 increase in a month towards our school budget. Now we're placing a further burden on some of them for asking a 2.5% for this after-school and before-school programs. I don't feel comfortable in voting for it due to those factors. Also, the 2 supervisors that are going to be hired, all that I read about them was one sentence of what they were going to do. I don't know what their actual job description is going to be. I really don't know how they're going to improve upon what is currently happening. I don't know if the current staff has never been trained adequately to know what their job is at that particular school that they're working. I don't know if the current staff is hired year after year after year with no evaluations really given towards them. So there's a lot of things that need clarity for me in order for me to vote in favor of them. But I am not in favor basically because of adding further hardship upon those people who are paying more and more and getting less and less through our budget. Thank you.
I'm going to disagree with the last part, where they're getting less and less. I think we're adding programs, we're going to add these 2 people, supervisors. So, yes, it is more money, but the only thing I'm going to I want to clarify is, they're not getting less and less. The kids in this district get more and more every year, so.
If I can just clarify that.
Yes.
When I'm saying less and less, I'm meaning they're paying more and more for it. So they're not getting on the same level of the pay scale.
Okay, that's not, all right, maybe I misunderstood.
That's what I
Okay.
that's what I
Okay.
meant.
All right.
This school district offers far more than other school districts
Yes,
offer.
okay.
I'm aware of that.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Cindy?
I just wanted to, the description that came home about the Fair Lawn Community School childcare thing, the caregivers receive CPR training, AED training, first aid training, EpiPen training, bloodborne pathogen training, harassment, intimidation, and bullying training, and de-escalation strategies. So they are getting trained.
If I can, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
If I can address.
Are you done,
the
Susan?
president.
Yes.
If I can address the president regarding what you're saying, I'm not talking those specific trainings. I'm talking about how to control children, because that seems to be the major problem in these particular programs, that the kids are running all over the place and there's no control. I'm talking about supervisory control of the children, not those technical programs that you've offered.
Other than one person, maybe 2 people mentioning it last month, I've never heard anything along those lines.
And what's the justification for 2 new supervisors?
Because Mike understands that there's a lot of people, and he understands there's a lack of communication, all right? And maybe there is an issue, but it's not, you're making it sound like, Lord of the Flies over there, and it's not. It's described to me as organized chaos. These are school-age children, and as an elementary school principal, there's a lot of energy there, and sometimes you gotta let them burn it off. And so, in order to deal with that, in order to have a smoother transition, in order to have better communication with the parents, Mike felt this was the best way to do it. And as far as what Cindy said, yeah, they have all the training that we've given them so far, but Mike wants to improve the program, so he's adding to these 2 supervisors, and he's going to be looking at the program and making a presentation in the future. So I'm not saying it's perfect, but I also want to clarify that we've been doing this for 20-some years, and it was never promised to be structured learning. It was never promised to be a homework club. It was first and foremost babysitting, which is what people wanted. Now it seems people want a little bit more, and we're trying to respond to that. So that's where we're going with it. Jeff?
Yeah, there was, again, I'm reading the same thing, and I won't read it verbatim. However, I will just mention that it does seem to have a little bit of a contradiction in it, where there is a part that says it was never meant to be a structured program, and then it says it's under it, a couple paragraphs under it does say it is a structured program. So when I read this, I have to admit that I am a little confused, and I don't know which direction it's going in, because it says 2 different things. Like it almost looks like it's written to appease as opposed to actually give a plan out and kind of really let us know what's happening there. So, again, I'm not against the plan. I mean, I'm uncomfortable raising fees on people just like Mark is. But I have heard from people that it's a playground environment.
I don't disagree with it.
Right. So, but then it's saying here that it's not, but then it wasn't, it's not supposed to be structured, but then it says it is structured. So I don't know which one it is. Which one is it?
I'm guessing it's kind of a hybrid.
I
Ron
don't
and
know,
then.
but, I mean, I'm gonna vote for this, I should know. That's all I'm saying.
I just, I have a question, like what Mark said, about the supervisors. Like, are these people that are working there now, they're gonna promote them to be supervisors, or we bring in
If you,
separate?
I'm just gonna say, if there's more discussion about the program, we can ask Mr. Shansky to come and present that, but right now, we're already a month behind opening up registration. The increase is covering the increase to staff, the cost of snacks and the breakfast that we provide. It's for additional equipment. It's for all of those items that go into running a program. In addition to that, what we're promoting is having 2 additional supervisors. One of them would maybe provide some assistance on doing some kind of structure programming. But the flyer that goes out to the community is the same flyer that's gone out year after year. The program is a child care program. It's not school. It's not it's just a child care program. So, and what I would say is that if there are concerns about the program, the best course of action is to reach out to the individuals at the school level, so the head caregivers, the principals, the director of community school. If that doesn't happen beyond that, they can certainly reach out to me. So at this point, I'd like to respectfully ask that we perhaps talk about, if you would like more information, like Mike said, we're giving our director of community school an opportunity to work on some items. We'll come back and present that to the board.
Okay, we're gonna do Elise and Emily, and then we're gonna cut this off.
One other one also, okay.
And that's it, because we had this discussion Monday, and I was told I let these things go on too long. So it's Elise, Emily, and Mark, and then we're gonna go to the audience.
It's okay, I'll forego, because I was gonna say, when you were gonna say that a lot of the programs don't have food, and we have food, and that's part of the rise in cost that you didn't mention, because that was something we discussed. It's okay, but that was something that we discussed. And the organized chaos, what Jeff was saying, that it says 2 different things. I think organization, if kids are running around the gym and you think it looks chaotic, it's an organized program where for this hour we're running around, and for this hour we're going outside, and for this hour we're sitting and doing homework. So it might not, when the layman walks in, they might not realize that there's a structure, but I think that's the structure they're talking about. They're not talking about the kids are sitting like this, for 3 hours.
Emily?
So, just a suggestion, I know we just approved a budget that includes money for a communications specialist for the district, so maybe not this year, but next year that person can review the flyer and consider revamping it to be a little bit more effective in communicating what exactly they're signing up for, which might help with some of the expectations from the community, exactly what to expect. But in the meantime, I think it would be great, as board members, our position is in part to help liaise with the community and ensure a good 2-way conversation between the community and the administration. And I think in addition to communicating increased fees, which parents who use the service are going to be talking about, they'll talk about the fees in the spirit of Mark's comment, but I think it's also really important to have a plan to communicate to them what improvements are going to be made for the program next year, so they understand that part as well. So just wanted to put that out there.
Okay, thank you for your input.
Mark?
I don't want to insult anybody by what I'm going to say, but I'm sorry, yeah, I probably will. All I can say is shame on us for voting on something that has time constraints on it. Perhaps this should have been done 3 months ago and should have been finalized 3 months ago. I don't like the fact that I'm voting on something because there's time that this thing has to pass. So, again, I'm not in favor of voting on it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Members of the audience, any questions on any of the items F1 through F11. Dave, if you weren't here, but we're just signing in, we're using the podium.
Good job.
Oh, okay.
Kelly's got it going.
Yeah, we're getting official now.
Yeah, a couple of things. One, to what Elise said, it doesn't work that way. There's not an hour where there's running around, an hour that they're inside, an hour that they're sitting. It is just kind of pandemonium for however long you're there. You know, I've been there seeing my kids, I've been there, pick up my kid, I've been there, pick up my kid when he's been hurt. And they say, what, you want me to tell you every time he gets hurt? Well, yeah, if you have to give him a nice pack, I should probably hear about that. Not from him when I got home, but when the incident happened. So those things happen. Again, that's anecdotal. We've been in touch with Mike Shansky when Mark is no longer in aftercare now, but when he was, we've been in touch with Mike Shansky, so has other people. So I find it hard to believe that he's never heard of any incidents in any schools.
I don't think that's what anybody said.
That's what I think what she said, actually. Or somebody said he was taking, Mike might have said he was
Mike,
taking it back,
that's not
but
what
he'd
it
never
said.
heard. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you direct to the chair, please.
I'm sorry, no, but Mike gave his finance report.
Right.
And said that he had never heard of any incidents, any of these incidents that we're talking about. That's what, I think, Mike, if I'm wrong, please correct me.
No, just talk to me.
I want to clarify that, because that's.
No,
what-
you have the floor. You have the floor. Mike is not going to engage with you.
I'm just, okay, so, but I'm just saying that I find it hard to believe
Okay.
that's actually the case.
Okay.
And also, to kind of say what Mark said, if 5 of you could find it, you know, in your mind to maybe freeze this for this year, since you've already raised the money for the referendum, you've already raised us $20, everybody, including yourselves, $20 a piece for the parents that have kids in elementary school that have to work and can't be there at 3 o'clock. Why not freeze the rates for a year and do something good for the parents, for those parents who are already going to have to pull out of their pocket for 2 different increases from you, but from nobody else, not from the county, not from the borough, but from you. And so 5 of you can get together and vote no on this and go back to Brooke and say, hey, you know what, let's freeze this for 2018, 2019, and then come back and then we'll figure it out in 2019, 2020. I think that there are a lot of parents out there that would appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Any other members of the audience want to speak on E1 through E11? No? A roll call, please.
Mr. Barbarulo?
Yes, on everything except F11B. Already know.
Dr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mrs. Franco?
Yes.
Mr. Klein?
Yes, no on F11B.
Ms. Quackenbush?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes.
Mr. Spindell?
Yes on everything except for F11B, no.
Mrs. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Banta?
Yes. Okay. This time we'll open up the floor to a gentleman that wanted to talk. I know, we had to leave by 8:30. We couldn't get through it, I'm sorry. Any other members of the audience want to speak on any topic on the agenda or otherwise? Okay, if you could just, Kelly, go back
Real
up
quick,
and just initially sign in again.
Radburn School's having their 5K this Sunday, so y'all should come out and walk in if you have to, but support the school, because we still owe you guys money for our playground. So this is our hugest fundraiser of the year, so, you know, come on out.
Thank you, Kelly.
Hi.
Could you just sign your name?
Yes.
Thank you. And then state your name for the tape.
Sure.
Just put it 2.
My
Okay.
name is Judy Jonides. I had sent an email recently to the members of the board about AM Gym, which I know is always a controversy. My question was, and I'm glad I have Ms. Sevner and the principal here. The first question is, for AM Gym, when you have the health semester, why is AM Gym also required as opposed to a study hall? Because you're missing 2 days of health instruction and still have to do the homework. So what is the benefit? Is it purely an hours requirement?
Is it a board topic?
Well, that's for Ernie, or Natalie.
So I'm not sure I understand
Okay,
your
so-
questions when
yeah.
they're going to phys ed in the morning plus health?
Yes, so for example, like if you're taking AP classes, and I think you have 2 labs a week, you have to take AM gym, which is at 7 AM. And correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding of AM gym is walking around the track or playing crab soccer, which means you're crawling on the floor with your other students. Maybe there's more, I'm not really sure. But during the health semester, they're missing 2 days of class instruction because they're in the lab. So meanwhile, they obviously have to keep up with the homework, but they still have to go to AM gym during the health semester. Does anyone know why?
You want to try, Jim?
130 minutes a week requirement. I'm sorry, week requirement is a combination of health and phys ed. So it meets the requirement. And I think there's a little more than crab soccer.
Yeah, I know there's walking the track. There probably is more inside, like when it rains, I don't know. But I know they're obviously getting their regular gym. The point is that like the kids who are generally in AM gym are in your AP classes, and these are the most overworked children that there are, and they get no sleep as it is. So you're forcing these kids to wake up at 6 AM to do this AM gym the whole year through, which to me does not seem like there's any benefit to that.
Jim, am I understanding that
You want me
they,
to-
yeah, okay, maybe
Yeah.
Dawn, as the gym teacher, let us, Jim and health teacher, tell us.
I understand it, and I can't change anything this year, so I'm just asking.
This is your second visit to the podium
Can I
now.
put a number 2 here?
Yeah.
Times 2.
Or like,
Dawn squared.
All right, Dawn, lead us.
Hi, Dawn Ebner from the high school. I actually know a lot about the physical education because I'm one of the teachers in the physical education class. I think I've been doing it for probably the past 15 years or so. There's a state mandate which requires 150 minutes of health and physical education per week in grades K through 12 in the state of New Jersey. So when students have a double lab where they're pulled out in our school district, the way that it works, when they have a AP lab class of some kind, they're pulled out of their physical education class twice a week to meet the AP labs that they need to fulfill within their AP labs. That being said, that negates them of having their 150 minutes of health and physical education. And I know you probably know this, but just so the rest of the audience knows what's going on. So once a week, and generally it's been on Thursdays that we've had this happening, the Thursday class. There have been 2 and sometimes 3 physical education teachers, depending on the number of students who are enrolled for that particular year in the AP classes. So I think your well, there is more than just crab soccer. We did play crab soccer last week when it rained, and we did go out to the track this week. But we also we take them to the weight room. We do volleyball. We do ultimate frisbee. When it is nice, we try to get them outside. Last year, near the end of the school year, I was outside playing pickleball with the kids. So for those of you who don't know what pickleball what it is, it's like life-size ping pong, basically. And some of you have the opportunity to play that. So at any rate, so there are a variety of activities that do occur, but.
And I
now,
don't debate that they need the minimum. So then my follow-up question to this is,
the health.
why is it necessary that if children are in a varsity sport, who are, let's say, for example, if you're on the track team, you're running 25 miles a week. Why is this necessary? Because the way I read the state requirements, and obviously I'm no expert, is that you need to have something that equals or exceeds the state requirement. So is there any way that varsity athletes who are active, the coaches could sign off, for example, is there a way they could be exempted from AM gym? And this won't help my daughter.
Wait a minute.
That's-
I would like an administrator to answer that before the board starts chiming
That's a
in.
separate.
Yeah, that's a
entity,
separate
yes.
question.
And, I mean, I can talk about that too if you like, but as far as the health component, there are complications because there are only 2 phys ed teachers, and there are requirements, as far as, and Jim can attest to this, like, we have to make sure that the locker room is safe, we have to secure the locker room and all those things, so we would have to hire multiple staff members. In addition to that, they could have 2 or 3 different health teachers. That I have students who are in 12th grade and 11th grade in my AM phys ed. So the 12th graders right now are in health, the 11th graders are not. So I wouldn't be able to do health with the 12th graders, and then what's gonna happen with my 11th graders in that section. So it does become somewhat complicated in manning and that aspect.
So a supervised study hall, like for health, would not work for that requirement, is that correct?
That would not meet the
That
state
would not meet the state
requirement.
No, that's what I
It
was.
must be direct instruction by a certified PE health teacher.
And that's why I'm asking, because like a varsity sport is observed and taught by a school, you know,
Paul, is that there an exception for varsity sports that you?
I would
not
prefer
a-
to, no.
Do you want me to talk?
Dawn can address it, she's
Okay.
actually the expert.
Okay.
I would defer.
So
but-
as far as, first of all, a coach does not have to be a certified health and physical education teacher. And in addition to that, just like any other course requirements, we have core content standards that we must meet. And those core content standards aren't met by being involved with a specific athletic sport. Some of them may be, but not all of them. So we wouldn't necessarily be covering the core content standards that were required by law to meet. So that's why, and I don't know, I mean.
Do we know what other districts are doing within Bergen County?
Jim, you have an
You
answer?
know?
This has come up, and as many board members know, there was on the committee, we just talked
Just
about-
had this discussion tonight.
I was just gonna address that.
Dialogue committee meeting tonight, this topic was discussed, and she can tell you, and Zeta can tell you, we talked about it.
Zeta can tell you.
And one of the issues is, there are schools, there are districts that have worked out a way to do that, whether it's, there are different options to do it. What those schools have that Fairlawn High School does not have, and it's really, and I said that with board members tonight, it's a philosophical discussion, a discussion about what our expectations at Fairlawn High School are. We don't have study halls. We don't have places to put students, if they're not in gym when they're in their athletic season, there's nowhere, we don't have anywhere to put them. We don't have study halls. The reason we don't have study halls is because we believe in having students have 7 academic periods a day. So that's, I think that part is a little bit of a philosophical discussion. Is it, are there legal ways to do that? Yes, we just said, you do that. There are legal ways to do it. I think it's more of a discussion that maybe an education committee or someone would have to have in order to do something like that. Because it is, philosophically, there's not one study hall in Fairlawn High School, there never has been, and there's, I believe, educationally, there's good reason for it. I also know that athletes work 3 hours a day, after school, physically. So, I understand that the reason behind it, I understand the request.
Yeah.
We've discussed it many times with the students and the student government, and it came up again tonight, and we talked about it again that way. So there is one of the things that we talked about with the students is that we would look at, we could have a further discussion about it, maybe with the education committee, to see if there was any, if they felt, the board feels it was valuable to give up an academic period for a study hall, that big. But also, aside from that, then there's the matter of having those study halls manned by teachers and additional periods to pay for it, all those kinds of things.
So I just know some board members want to say something, but it sounds to me like the administration maybe take a look at this and get back to education chair and see if it's a topic we want to bring up at an education meeting in the future. We're not going to decide it right now, but I think the administration should look at it and then come back to us and say, hey, this is a good idea, let's look at it, or, we talked to the attorney and said, there's no way, because we need the 150 minutes, not 149 or whatever it is. So we'll discuss it.
Just look into if other districts are doing it
Yeah.
and how they're doing it. 'Cause the caliber of students who are in these AM gym, these are kids who are like taking AP classes, most likely skipping lunch. And in the case of, a bunch of kids in her class, varsity athletes, who, if they're lucky on a practice day, get home at 6 o'clock. If they have a meet or something else, getting home at 9 o'clock.
That's-
So
that's-
they're not
that's a long
starting
day.
homework
That's a
till
long day.
7, 10 p.m. and then, it's just an endless cycle where these kids are just being beaten down.
Okay,
to
well,
death.
it's certainly worth the administration looking into. All right, I got Jeff, Elise, Cindy, Mary, Emily.
Perhaps this is something that also can go to the tech committee, even though it kind of borders with education a little bit, is to see whether or not we could do an online component to that. Were you saying I was going to say that?
No, he was saying it before.
Oh, that we could do an online component to that. Or perhaps those, if it's possible for those students to do that, the health component over the summer. So that's all I wanted to say. That, again, I'm hoping that, and I'm confident that the administration will look into some of the options for those students.
I'm getting the sense, though, that's not just about health. I'm getting the sense it's also just even
Yeah,
what
it's
they said
both,
during the
yeah,
vote. Right.
exactly.
Okay.
Okay. Well, you
I
guys,
just want to make sure that
okay,
I'm hearing it right.
thank you. Elise,
I'm good.
you're good, okay. Cindy?
I'm chair of the presently chair of the Student Dialogue Committee, and I've been serving on the committee for quite a number of years. And it has been a discussion, a very prominent discussion at the Student Dialogue. And the way that something like that works is when the idea is brought up, us on the board are listening to the discussion as it's coming from the student government to the administration that sits in the room, which is the principal and the assistant principal and the teacher rep for the student government. And what they are doing is discussing it with the student government and the administration, trying to work out all of the kinks, figure out what exactly has to be done and how to move it forward. Because in order for it to move forward to this board, it has to then go from the administration and the student dialogue to the curriculum superintendent, which is Dr. Lakatina. So there has been discussions. They're trying to work it all out so that when it comes to us, Ms. Lakatina would then go to the education chair, put it on the agenda, and then the full board would hear how this could be done. So I just wanted to tell you that it is in the works. There has been active discussion, and the administration and the superintendent of curriculum has to work out the yeses and the nos and what we're allowed as opposed to what we're not allowed to do. But it is out there, and it's been loud and clear out there for a couple of years.
Mary?
You said what I wanted to say.
Okay. Emily?
I just want to begin by thanking the students and the parent, community member for coming out and advocating for yourself and for your kids. I think it's it's an issue if you have to wake up at 7 a.m. every morning when you're, it's your life and it's your reality, and it's wonderful to be able to speak up on how systems in our schools can be reconsidered to make things better. I want to say for a district that truly values the mental health of our students, I feel like this is a good example where there's something structural in the system of our school itself that might be exacerbating students' anxieties, lack of sleep, unhealthy behaviors, socializing kids as teenagers to, wake up at 6 a.m. to just have a day that goes till 10 p.m. or whatever, never feeling like you can ever get everything done that you need to get done. And I think there's a lot of research now that shows that early wake up, especially for adolescent brain development, is something that really needs to be reconsidered. And so I think it's a broader discussion around all sorts of reasons why we're asking our high school students to wake up even earlier than the early start we already have of the schedule. And maybe this is a topic that in our strategic plan bucket of trying to address the whole child, this could be an aspect of something that we can't solve in 1 year or in one meeting, but a broader long-term goal that we want to look at. And just to piggyback on what Jeff said about the online component, if online education is a viable option under state law for students to get credit, I just want to put it out there. I could even see maybe the personalized learning for these particular categories of students might even be more effective than the traditional classroom instruction, in the sense that if you're a varsity athlete, you could pick the module on how to do self-care and not overexert yourself in sports. If you are taking the 7 AP courses or whatever it is on how to, take mental breaks or to maintain your concentration, or there's specific health concerns for students who are exerting a lot of time doing one thing, that maybe there's an online package that the health education could be even tailored more to them to make that even more relevant and helpful in promoting their health. So it could be a real opportunity to grab there too, so thank you.
Ron?
I just want to piggyback a little bit what Cindy said. We had this conversation tonight, and we've had this conversation, and one of the things that came up tonight's meeting was the math students had talked about, and our president over there about what they go through. And when they finally sat down with the supervisor, they found out what's required, okay, by the state. A lot of the stuff is mandated by the state, and it's not that we can't look at doing other options. But again, when you start trying to get outside the realm, trust me, I've had children in AP classes. I know what they go through, okay? Also, you have students, I understand what you're saying, Emily, but a lot of these students have the intelligence and they choose to take these AP courses, even the athletes, and they know what's coming, they gotta do. It's like college, you know, I can tell you what my daughter goes through, but this is, one thing I will say is I admire the students. They've had this idea for 5-6 years, and they're not gonna stop until they can help direct it and get it to where they want it to go, and that is a tribute to them. So we are listening to the students, and hopefully we can do something. I know we'll try to work on it.
Elise?
I just want to say that I know that other schools are doing it, you know, attributing being part of a sport to taking place of some of the gym time that I don't even know if it's related to taking an AP class in early morning gym. It's just replacing gym completely. And I think for me, because I've been there as well for many years, and I think this is a huge topic, and it encompasses a lot more than just the AP idea and the substituting, you know, health over the summer. I think it might be something that really needs to be looked at and maybe totally restructured. You know, to me, I think, you know, dance classes should count, and maybe gym needs to be looked at completely. Well, we have a dance team, and that's all exercise or cheerleading, you know. I mean, and I think that all of that needs to be looked at. Maybe instead of early morning gym, you know, there could be afternoon gym, because maybe instead of having kids wake up early, they can just stay, you know, for a ninth period and do a gym thing. So I think there's a lot of questions, like, you know, a litany of questions that I could think of that I've been thinking of for many years, and I think maybe we really need to do, you know, send direction so that we can really get some answers and facilitate some change, some positive change.
So I just want to piggyback on that. Natalie and I were smiling and nodding because earlier today we had a meeting on CUSAC, and the Department of Ed is looking at CUSAC and looking at dance. So that is something that you can see. So we weren't laughing, we were trying to, yeah, we keep hearing it. It's a redundant theme lately for the last month or so.
You know, I just asked Paul to do some legal research so that we have that information as well.
Okay.
Just
Yeah, Jim, go ahead.
Just first, so.
The podium, Jim, podium.
Yes.
We got to break everybody in. We can't let you slide.
Good job.
Right.
Just so everybody knows, you know, the intention of originally, this is going back before my time, the original intention of the school was to provide kids with an opportunity to fit these additional AP classes in their schedule. Without that zero period, some of the students would have to drop that AP class. So that's the intention. It's not to take opportunity away from kids. It's to give kids opportunity to take those classes. And we have a lot of really strong academic students who take those classes and take 4 or 5 or 6 AP classes. And there's no way we can allow them to take it if they didn't have that zero period. So, you know, the gym, the phys ed board is another thing. We certainly can look at that. We've been looking at it and different options. But I just wanted to make that point. It's really about providing them an opportunity to take those classes, and I can tell you, and there's some people sitting right here whose kids have gone through school and have basically ended up getting into the college they want to go and not having to take the freshman year courses and move right along. So it's about providing an opportunity. Whether we can find a structure that maybe fits a little better for certain individual cases, certainly we can look at. I don't want anybody to think that it's about restricting.
Now, I do remember when we did it, it was, I don't know whose idea it was, but that we could do a zero period, bring a teacher in early, pay him for a 6th period, and the kids can then take that extra AP class. And everybody was pretty happy with it. So, okay. Dawn. Podium, please.
I'm on my way.
Third time.
Dawn Hughes.
That works. Again. Okay, so, a little bit about Dawn Ebner from high school. personal opinion as opposed to the component relative to core content standards and all that kind of stuff. First, there is research also that says the best thing in order to facilitate learning in a school day is to do physical activity in the morning. There's plenty, and there's on and ongoing data and research that addresses that. There are actually some schools that have had some special needs children, and they start their day with a physical activity, and that gets them motivated and learning better throughout the day. There's research behind that, where there's statistical data to support doing physical activity in the morning to increase learning for students. So that's one thing. The second thing I will say, this is from a association perspective, that I oppose online learning. That is not the same as having a teacher in a classroom to provide you with education. Are there some extenuating circumstances where there is some online learning? Yes, I agree that there are some extenuating circumstances, but to make an overarching policy where we're just going to open up online learning, I don't think that would be, and I'm not saying that anybody said specifically to do an overall policy, but I'm just saying I would be opposed to that. The next thing, we had dance. You guys mentioned dance. Actually, the seniors have a course in dance, and the freshmen 2 years ago implemented a dance program into the physical education requirement. So if somebody, and once again, going back to the idea of removing physical education for varsity athletes, if that varsity athlete isn't on a dance team and isn't in phys ed, they are not meeting the rhythmic portion of the core content standards. So that would not, kind of correlate. So you'd have to find a way in which that all students, whether they're taking the class or not, maybe the football team would have to do dance as one of their weekly practices instead of
Football.
Why not?
All right, no talking.
Next up, I can say that I particularly have never been in favor of AM physical education. And the reason for that is I think that they should be in their class. I don't even think, I teach, majority of my classes are freshmen, and so they only have one lab a week, where they are missing my class once a week, whether it be that they're in health or they're in physical education. Those students don't have to make up an AM class because they meet the 150-minute requirement. But as far as them accomplishing all the health stuff that they need to do, all the physical education stuff that they need to do, it's difficult for them and difficult on the teacher to make sure that everybody meets all the requirements. In addition to that, as far as the labs go, it's very complicated for anybody who is not directly involved. The junior teachers, they don't just have lab twice a week. They have lab twice a week for 2 different groups that go out on different days of the week. So they're missing some kids on Monday, some kids on Tuesday, two sets of kids on Wednesday, and then a single lab on Friday. So try to teach a class where there are individuals every day. They're lucky sometimes if 1 day a week they have their whole class present with them. So that, I think, is a particular problem. And I've joked about this, but I've said, well, why don't we have AM Lab instead of AM Phys Ed? If they want to have an AP class, why don't we, if that's what they want to do, and joking but kind of serious, if that's that's their prerogative, why are we having them make up a different class for a class that they want to take? And then finally, the last point I'm going to bring up is, I know that that the district hired a scheduling specialist, and maybe the scheduling specialist can take a look at this. And I know not everything is the same as when I went to school, but when I went to school, I had biology, I had bio lab, and every other day I had bio lab, and it was backed up with a half-year elective program. But that half-year elective was over the course of the year. So, for example, back then we had this thing called typing. So it wasn't even word processing then. So I had my period 4 was biology, and my period 5, one day was bio lab, and the next day it was typing. And that's the way that we fit our lab team. So I would ask the district to maybe, if we're going to consider these items, maybe speak to the scheduling specialist and see how other districts do it without having an AM Phys Ed, without pulling kids out of a state mandated course where we also need to meet core content standards and objectives.
Mrs. Ebner, how many minutes are they achieving with AM Gym? How many minutes a week?
135, no,
Yeah.
they're,
3 days a week is 135 minutes.
3 days a week is 135, so with the AM gym, they're getting the other 50 minutes in order to meet, it's a minimum 150 minutes is the standard.
So what are they achieving then, I'm sorry?
So they're achieving
More than
100
150?
and,
Yes.
more than 150, 185 minutes, 185 minutes is what they're getting. But they have to get it 150. Now, somebody who's enrolled in.
So how long is AM gym?
Okay, you know what?
Yeah, entire.
Ma'am.
45-minute class period like
Okay,
any class.
just with this amount of minutes, it seems kind of.
Well, the periods are what, 50 minutes?
45 minutes.
45 minutes?
Yeah.
So to take, now you gotta take a 45-minute period, make it 35, what do you do with the other 10? We're gonna look at it, okay? There may be a solution, there may not, there may be, yeah, there may be something in between, like Dawn was talking about, so.
Okay,
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you, Dawn, for being here.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm being fired.
If you could just go to the podium. Yes, you.
Never.
Just state your name and sign in.
Valerie Gonzalez-Ketter. I have 2 issues that I wanted to bring up.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Yeah.
There's a microphone there or not?
No.
Oh, for goodness sake.
I have 2 issues that I wanted to bring up. I use my kid voice. As I use on my kids. Basically, I'm advocating for the music programs and things that will help the music programs. One of them is the njvs.edu, which several schools that I've found out are now doing the personal financial literacy online. It's an online course, which would, I think, open up a lot of the arts, band, music courses back up to these kids who, if they do it online. So I know that Parsippany is doing that, Parsippany High School, and also Ridgewood. And also Ridgewood also offers credits for accounting in some of their courses towards the personal financial literacy. So I'm just saying that that would really help if you guys want, if you want to look into that. I think it's something that would bring the numbers back up, especially things like the band, which has, I did a little bit of researching and I found out that before PFL was instituted, there was like 125 kids in band during Cambridge time. And now I think it's up to, it was down to 56, and I think it was brought back up to 70 after, I think, 9th period band was instituted. I'm not sure of the numbers, I don't have access, I'm just getting that from Stella, but so that was one issue. And the other issue is I had a question about the awards being in, the award ceremony for music, the program being put in the hands of like PTA as opposed to being something that the school presented. I don't know, I know that there's, I had brought that up before with Mr. Marcella, and he had done something about it. And because what's going on now is that the award ceremony is costing a lot of money for parents and kids to go to attend. So last year, the student has to pay $45 and the parent has to pay $45 in any other child you have. So it just got really costly. My son won an award last year, and I was just like, what? I have to pay $90 and my and then this year, if 2 of my kids are going, then I have to pay over $100. And so that's to receive an award, and it's almost a punitive amount for your son to get an award. So I'm just wondering why it can't be placed in the school setting, just like sports, where everybody's invited and it's all free. So those are my 2 issues.
Anybody in administration want to address that? Because at this time, or we want to get back to her, or?
Well, I did once, and I will again, but I did have a meeting after the last time I talked about the Friends of Music helping anybody who can't afford it. One of the things I met with the music teachers that are involved, and we talked about every one of the, it's like an athletic team, every one of the organizations has a parent organization backing them up. And they all have dinners that are dinners that are held off campus.
Yeah, I just wanted to
run
answer
by the
that.
school, in our jurisdiction. And that's where they give out the letters and
That's why I wanted to answer.
things like that. We also, for varsity sports, have a ceremony in school 3 times a year where we do give out Cutter Award and Most Valuable Player, and the coaches talked a little bit to parents about their season. So what I did after the last time we spoke, I did talk, I had the music teachers come in, we're looking to see if there's a way for us to do some of those awards, because some of those awards are not, it's not conducive to us doing it in the school. Some of those awards are, specific to each individual group. So we're looking at, there's some awards that we can do in school and do an award ceremony in school at the end of the year. So I did meet with Mrs. Einberg and with Mr. Avedon, I met with the supervisor, and we're working right now to see what we can do, possibly for this year. I sent this schedule, or end of the year schedule out for May and June. And there's, we have events every night, including the band dinner, which is, I understand it's as much as it may be a little bit more than some of the other dinners, some of the other dinners are close to that. That's what I understand. I met with these people just the last time we spoke, last week. And we're gonna we're getting back together. We have park this week, so we weren't able to get together. We're getting back together on Monday. Everything is going well with that. And we're gonna talk about what we could do possibly this year to recognize that, in addition to the band dinner that they're still gonna have their band dinner.
Right, so the part of that, I totally understand. I have kids in sports too, but I know I've never had to pay over $50 for my entire family.
Well, that's not, the school doesn't,
No.
that's not the school.
No, that's fair. No, that's not in your hands. However, another issue is that all of these music programs are lumped into as this one dinner, whereas you would never put soccer and football and basketball together with one dinner.
The ceremony that we have at school is everyone.
Right, but see, the dinners, what I'm saying is that the control is all really just, it's really prohibitive. Number one, kids are not gonna go to something where they don't really know anybody, right? They don't know anybody, like they might, you've got marching band, which probably, I'm not sure who goes, but when I've gone, there's really a very small fraction of people who are in the music program who go to this. Number one, because I think a lot of kids on principle don't feel like they should be paying for their work. Like I spoke to someone who is a professional musician now, who won 7 awards in their day. I mean, this has been going on for a long time, I know. And they, on principle, didn't go to receive their award because they felt that it was an affront to have to pay such a big amount for, when they should, anyway, that was.
Well, I'm not gonna pretend to know anything about the awards. I think Ron has something to say, because he's intimately involved with that. And
What you're saying is correct. What, we do things different, okay? Is we have an awards, fall, winter, and spring awards at the high school where they present awards. Each sport, now, just saying, going back to what you were just saying, that the marching band is different than the ensemble and then the chamber choir, and I know there's all different things. That's up to, they all fall on the Friends of Music. So if the parents don't want that, it's the parents to say, look, okay, we're gonna have a little get-together for the chamber choir, I'm just gonna use that, or the orchestra, and they're gonna have a little dinner. As far as what they charge, I could tell you, like, speaking for baseball, when my son was a senior, they went for free. They also raised over $10,000, these kids, canning and habit night and all this other stuff. So part of that is we reward the seniors that they don't pay. The other kids have to pay, freshmen and sophomores. So going around and social media, it was very annoying when people were saying that, when they didn't have facts, okay? That is the facts. It's each individual. The football dinner is different, the hockey, I went to the hockey dinner, wrestling has their own dinner, everybody does it. They fundraise, and some of them say they're gonna pay and some don't. So what I'm trying to say is that I agree with you, but the point is that who pays for that? Like, if you're gonna have a dinner to give out awards, and the dinner's gonna cost $4,000, who's paying for that? You understand what I'm trying to say? Like, they gotta raise money to pay that to allow people to go for free.
No, I don't want.
we're not gonna have.
I'm just saying, I just want to show you what the difference is.
We understand your point. Ron wanted to clarify something. We're not gonna have a
That's
back
all.
and forth with the board members in the audience. You have anything else you wanna say? Okay, all right, and Mr. Marcello will be in touch. Okay, thank you. Emily, you had your hand up. Oh, I'm sorry, Mike, and then Emily. No, you were first, you're right.
All right, a couple of things. First of all, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't we start if it wasn't last year, it was maybe a previous year, but it was, I know we did it last year, where we did recognize all the music students at a board meeting. And I
We
believe
did
we're having-
that last year.
and I
This
think
year we
we're
will,
doing it again, correct?
this year we will continue to do that, and we will do that in the month of May.
Which means that they actually.
June, I'm sorry.
Which means they actually get more recognition than maybe some of the athletes. But that being said, I don't think, I understand the issue of having to go to a dinner to be recognized. And I don't, when I first heard about this, I said, well, I believe that there wouldn't be a problem with having an award ceremony just like they do for the athletic awards. So it's something I think that we need to bring back to Friends of Music and the high school administration and the music programs and the music program itself, the teachers, and get together to fix it.
Our schools will always be available for our parents and our students in terms of recognition. Some of our organizations choose to use banquet facilities and other facilities. Our schools will be available. If any of these organizations approach us and would say to us, we prefer to have the awards at the high school, we certainly will accommodate them. And I think that part of the conversation here that has gotten somewhat confused is that organizations affiliated but not necessarily controlled by the Board of Education make internal decisions to have wonderful events outside of school. But that's beyond our scope to say, I mean, we can encourage them to just come into our facility. Obviously, it's an issue, but I think that what does happen in any community is that there's an assumption that the Board of Education or administration is in charge of every parent organization or parent-sponsored organization. We work with them, we help, we facilitate, but please understand that if anyone wants to have an awards program in our schools will be open, and it's just a matter of contacting the Board of Education office and say, we'd like to have the spelling bee recognition, can we do that in the media center? Or we want to have a football or a band program in the high school. Scheduling will be the only issue, and we can schedule everybody, we're big enough. But that's the mix. The mix is, some of these organizations are not official Board of Ed sponsored. This is not, and as a result, they make their own they can make their own decisions. We can have some influence. We will certainly relay the message that concern has been expressed, but also I want everyone in the audience to know this Board of Education is very happy, and we believe in recognition of students. We do the same for staff. Sometimes those folks want to do it outside the building. When you want to do it inside, we're here for you.
Emily, and then this is the last thing on this topic.
Okay, so question is, when you have an induction to an honor society, is that organized by the school, or is that a private organization that organizes that?
It's a school-based organization with our faculty as sponsors.
So, I think that's the point of one of the key points of the community members' comment that I don't want to be lost, is that the very fact that it's a private organization that's fulfilling this function for our districts, such that we don't have control over how these things are planned, is maybe something that we want to revisit. And clearly, you said like there's a mix. Sometimes it's run by the schools, sometimes it's run by the private organizations. Best case scenario, a collaboration, clearly good partnerships. But I would just like to recommend to the administration that for the awards ceremony for our musicians, that might be something that the high school takes on and organizes in partnership, but has ownership for, just like the honors induction in that category. It could be the same thing, though. It's just, it's up for the administration to make a recommendation, but I hear the community members, I think it's a fair point, and I think it would be good for the, I hear that it's clearly not that case right now, but it'd be good to hear from the administration the rationale for why they're doing that. I mean, maybe it's too expensive to put that, or union, whatever, there might be reasons why it's that way, but I think we could use a clear answer on why it can't be that way, to be able to move on one way or the other. The second point about, the online course that Ridgewood uses, I don't want that to be lost. And also how some schools have found a way to make economics courses or other parts of the curriculum account for that requirement. Again, I think you could tell I'm a proponent of giving people choice within reason, and if this is an opportunity for us to be a little less rigid and a little bit more accommodating, if it's not a huge burden, and if other districts have figured this out, it could be a good step forward. So that's a request of the administration to, just like we're figuring out the other.
We took notes.
That'd be great, thank you.
Okay, so I hand it back. Podium, please.
Kelly O'Shea, I'm
Don't forget to sign in.
Okay. I am also the PTA president at the high school, so I wasn't going to say anything, but I'm going to stand here and I'm going to defend the Friends of Music. To sit here and say things against an organization of parents who volunteer their time and put their whole heart and time and effort and spend time away from their families, to sit here and say that they're doing things that they shouldn't be doing by organizing an end-of-year dinner. I don't believe you're paying for an award. It's no different from when we have our volleyball dinner or anything else. You're having a dinner together to celebrate your entire season. I do understand that money is costly. I will say that I organized the volleyball dinner. We pay $45 as the parents. We pay a little less for the adults, for the players. The seniors are free. If you choose not to be able to come, even as the PTA, we will always work with you to try to help. But I just feel like we need to give the correct recognition to a group of people who, this is an entire year, all summer, 365 day a year, part of their lives. And they work so hard for these kids. And I'm not saying that it isn't something we can't work to try to fix. I don't know if it was done the correct way. You can always come to me as a PTA president, and I will gladly advocate for anything, but I don't feel it's fair to go after Friends of Music. I don't.
Just to be clear, and I hope it wasn't implied, my statement was.
No, Dr. Plazas, I was never saying that.
Okay,
Absolutely
I just,
not.
that, we're
All
here
I'm
for
saying
everybody.
is that, absolutely. I understand that Friends of Music is an organization that runs that. I'm in charge of the PTA somewhat, but I work with Mr. Marcella. I'm in charge of one of the things for volleyball. We all work really hard. And as far as the dinners, I do think that they're special. And don't get me wrong, your award ceremonies are lovely. But to have your entire group together and be able to sit there and celebrate everything you've accomplished throughout a year together with your parents and your coaches, I believe is special. I do understand money's tight. It's tight in my house too. But if you can't afford it, that's fine. We can try to help, but I just think that there's better ways of going about it.
Thank you, Kelly. Mike, and then I'm going to go back to the audience.
All right, I just want to say, I hope nothing I said implied that.
Nobody here.
Because I do want to say, I do want to say, I agree with everything everybody said. I agree with everything everybody says. I think there should be an award, possibly if the administration should look into an award ceremony for the music people, but I think we do that. I think we do it at the board meeting, but it's for you guys to figure out. And then, if the Friends of Music want to have their dinner, that they have the right to do it, and I agree with everything. I agree with everything you said. There's something special about that end of the year dinner, and the music programs are very special, and the parents spend a lot of time and a lot of their own money that are involved in Friends of Music. So I don't want Friends of Music to say we don't support them, because I know I do. And it's very special. It's very special with what they do. So I think we should just look into trying to, trying to get an award ceremony for for the whole group, and then let the Friends of Music do what they do, because that's what they do, and parents can decide whether or not they're going to participate.
I will say this about the Friends of Music. They used to say James Brown was the hardest working man in show business, and the Friends of Music are the hardest working parents. They are at everything all the time. Okay, members of the audience, any other questions, comments on any topic? Okay, seeing none. Meeting dates. We've got,
We're not doing board comments.
oh yeah, let's, board comments. Reports, Mary.
Okay, so, after consulting with Jean, I reached out to Matt Lee for our fall board retreat, which will be a continuation of our goal of committees, looking at committees, structuring or restructuring, redefining or not redefining, but he has given us one date, because we have been talking, Jean and I, about early in the school year. But again, 7 people have to be open to that date. At the date that he gave us right now is September 29th, Saturday, September 29th. So if you mark your calendar now, you just don't make any plans.
Does anybody have a problem with Saturday the 29th for the retreat?
I can't answer that right
I
now.
can't answer it
My
either.
kid's in college,
Swim.
and he's got a bunch of stuff going on.
Swim.
So I gotta
Saturday,
swim.
September 29th.
I don't get all
No,
this.
there's
So,
no possible way.
So we
I
don't-
will ask him to hold the date, but when
Yeah.
is the latest we can possibly get some commitment to
I don't
that
know.
date?
Ron's kids in
June.
college.
Probably June, I'll know by June.
Okay,
when he gets
so hopefully we'll know, in the
At
summer.
the latest, the August
Those schedules.
telephone meeting,
Yeah.
but we really need, if that date is not good for 7 people, we would have to go, we will go after school boards, because Matt is then, and we too, would be involved with school boards and so forth. But I'm putting that out to you now as September
All right, so tell them
29th.
to hold it.
To hold the
We're
date.
waiting, some people don't know this far in advance, which, is
Yes.
understandable. It's
Sounds
5
good
months
to
from
me.
now, so.
Sounds good.
Okay, Mike?
I just want to clarify something I said in the finance committee report. Because my words were a little parse. Mr. Shansky said that the stuff that was brought up at last month's meeting, he hadn't heard about, and that he spoke to people involved, and they said, and it had already been taken care of by the time that happened, by the time that conversation happened. That's what I meant. I didn't necessarily mean that he's never heard problems. What he's saying is he deals with problems all the time in all the programs that he runs. And it's how they deal with the problems. And he's at every school at least once a week, he says.
Okay. All right, we're done with that. Mark had his hand, did you?
Yes, on the
I got 2.
Mark, Ron, Emily.
I got 2 reports.
I'm the liaison for the Alliance for Substance Abuse Prevention. At the last meeting, I wanted everybody to know that they had paid for a specific program called Too Smart to Start, which ran in our 5th grade elementary schools, as well as Edison for 4th and 5th grade classes. It's regarding alcohol prevention program and the effects that it has on the body and the mind, and it teaches the students refusal skills. There are also, at the end of the program, going to be handing out booklets for all teachers who are involved. The teachers' guides are there to help with activities that are going to continue throughout the year. They also questioned whether or not there was education for the junior and high school, middle school and high school on e-cigarettes and vaping. And do we know that, if there is? Okay. And the last thing is that they question also whether there is a policy on vaping, which I had discussed with Dr. Pelestis, but I don't know if it needs to be further discussed. I'm also the liaison for the Fairlawn Community School, and I must say that our last meeting was the most robust revival that I've ever seen. There were 8 people in attendance. Usually there's
Wow.
2.
Yeah.
We started off by reviewing the bylaws, and we were told that there are new classes in technology for those kids who are attending the after-school programs. Also, that the planetarium is now available to the public to rent. I believe it's a cost of a few $100s if you wanted to rent the planetarium out. They also wanted to concentrate more on children's programs and to really focus in on programs for the adults. They don't feel that they're targeting the actual needs for the adult communities, for them to show up to the classes. They were considering advertising in both of the street fairs, and I believe you will see us there this year in June for the street fair. They also wanted to consider possible senior citizen discounts or multi-course discounts to encourage more people to attend the community school. They're focusing in on a marketing program to attract more individuals to attend because there has been, I believe, a slight decline in attendance. And they're also considering for extra revenue to put in ads in their booklets that go out to the community. And that's it. The last thing I wanted to comment on was, I brought this up a couple of months ago. I asked if we could possibly look into reviving some kind of recognition to our students at the beginning of every board meeting. And I don't know where we stand on that, but I think it would really improve the community's recognition of what these schools actually are doing at the present time. So if we could discuss that at a further date or so, I really appreciate that.
Thank you. I have a question now.
Yeah, no, but you were next anyway.
Mark, have they looked at revising some of the course offerings they've had? Because I gotta be honest with you, I followed that community school like for the last 15, 20 years, and I gotta tell you, some of their course offerings are outdated. They eliminated some that were good. I'm just saying, that's something that they really need to do, because I've gone down it and I'm like, yeah, I would do that, it's like maybe one course that like interests myself.
Was it on plumbing?
No, it actually wasn't, because I know the guy that teaches the plumbing, but I'm just saying, is that, no, they used to offer a lot more wide variety, it seems they got away from it, so it's just a suggestion, I mean,
I will definitely bring that up, but it has to do with the people who are interested in it. That's why they were saying that they need to really focus in on what the adults want.
Okay.
So they're considering doing that, but I will bring that up.
I just wanted to let you know, that's all.
Okay, Ron, you wanted to...
All right, I have two reports. First of all, I apologize to the board. They're not sending out a written athletic committee report. Apologize with school ending with me. It's been a little crazy. Athletic committee, we met 2 weeks ago. Basically, what we did is we talked about we want to start middle school volleyball. Right now, we have basketball. We have wrestling. So we told Mr. Robinson, our athletic director, to work up a budget of what it would cost. We also have track also. This is outside of all sports. This is middle school. What?
Just, all we have right now is wrestling.
No, we have basketball too.
All right, look, whatever.
Anyway, yeah, we do, but anyway. We also talked about, we had issues with our track mats. The new track mats are officially here. They were delivered today and they were being installed today. They were destroyed by the weather over the winter. It's all been rectified. And then the other thing we discussed about was the programs of basically the coaches making sure that the programs are all covered, like from freshmen to seniors. It's not just a varsity program, it's a program. So those are basically the things we touched. And on the, what did we say, anything extracurricular? Did we talk about anything with the?
We did, but we touched on some of our thoughts.
Oh, yes, some of our thoughts about the plays.
Yeah, wanna
But, yeah, we talked
be careful
about
with
the
our words.
extracurricular, because it's a co-committee, that some of, like, this year's play, as good as it was once, was a very limited cast, and we really want to see that if we could try to get plays that'll get more people involved, not just behind the scenes, but out on the stage, and use the talents that we have in our school, high school, and along with the middle schools too, so. And then also, we did talk about too, making sure that the same clubs are offered in each middle school. That one middle school doesn't have one and the other middle school doesn't have another, or vice versa. So we want to look at that, because, one of the things that I've brought up in the past too, is we have a Junior National Honor Society Memorial, we don't have one at TJ. And I've been told many reasons, and again, like you brought that up about the kids, I want to know why and why we're not doing it as soon as possible, because I feel the kids at TJ should have the same opportunity academically to be involved in such a great honor. And I know it is because my son was part of the first class of the memorial, and I'm very proud of that, so.
There were two other things.
Yeah, go ahead.
One was, we discussed also.
I left my notes home.
Yeah, that's right, the attendance, and hopefully some more efforts to fill in the seats at the
Yes.
musical, because
Yeah.
that people didn't get to see that level of talent is sad, actually, because I thought it was extraordinary. I was so impressed. And the other thing was, I brought up the idea of using a push-button app for students, faculty, whomever, so we can get, like we're getting pop-ups for the draft right now. Okay, I'm not the only one, all right?
I'm not.
That we could get them for high school sports also. Like, we could sign up for individual
Yes.
sports or all the sports, where it would come up, like, even before the game, if I wanted to bring my daughter or we wanted to go see a game, it would pop up.
Also
and say-
live, we can get live streaming of
You
it.
can do live streaming through that.
Varsity Aces.
Scores can come up, and like things like that would be a nice thing to help bring the community and bring people out to the game, so we could again celebrate our students and watch them play. I mean, whether or not they're great athletes or not, it doesn't matter. We still want to support our teams. So it'd be nice to have a greater awareness of that. So sorry to step on your nose, but that's what I remember.
Thank you. So that's that. I'll write that up and send it to everybody this weekend. All right, tonight we had the student dialogue meeting, and myself and Ms. Franco were there. Ms. Krakowiak got stuck at work, which is understandable, because it's that crazy year for you right now, that crazy time. So they all left, but just a few things. Since the president had wanted to do something for the last 3 years, she's a senior, she wanted to do a talent show, it didn't go off, and then she wanted to do something else. So 2 weeks ago, they put a lip sync battle together. 2 weeks, they put the whole thing together, the whole student group, the executive committee with the class presidents and everything else. And they had it yesterday, it went really, really well. They had, I think they had 10 acts, and they told me who won. So they went really, really well, and they plan on doing it again next year, keeping on. But they did the whole thing, because Mr. Infante, who's their advisor, was kind of tied up, because now that we're heading into the end of April and May, things are getting really crazy, with education. Now, they wanted to tie it into Spring Spirit Week, but they moved Spring Spirit Week back to May 14th to the 18th, and they have 5 days which actually is going to run you right into the marathon. Which is the weekend of May 18th to the 20th. So if you're not doing anything, come out, support the kids. They raise the money, they donate it, and they do a great job. But Monday is going to be Twin Day, Tuesday is going to be Decades Day, Wednesday is Disney Day, Thursday is College Day, but they want the rest of the school to wear something Fairlawn colors, Fairlawn School Spirit Day, and then Friday's going to be Crazy Hat Day. So every day they're going to have a theme for Spring Spirit Week. They're very intent on bringing the school together. And they found that the lip sync battle, they had a lot of people went. So it worked out good. They charged $2 for lip sync battle and canned goods, and they donated the canned goods. So they raised a little bit of money. So it was a good, nice idea. They really want to put the morale in schools better. They did speak to us about Miss Jim still here? Miss Garudo. Miss Garudo is going to talk to them about putting healthier food in the cafeteria, more nutritional. I did speak to them and said that we are also looking into dealing with Chartwells and getting healthier stuff there and everything. They were very happy about that. As we spoke earlier, they're looking into math initiatives about the changing some things. They had an ice cream social. The seniors gave out free ice cream. They also had, it was kind of pretty cool because they had vegan ice cream for people that weren't, and they had, I asked if they made gluten-free ice cream, it's called ice. Sorbet. Sorbet. That's right, sorbet. So, well, you know, everybody's gluten-free, and I asked, and they all said that it's ice. I said, okay. So, anyway, and the seniors, I thought it was really cool. The seniors have nicknamed the last month or so their farewell tour. So this is the seniors' farewell tour. 2019, the juniors had their prom. They went very well. They made over $5,000. They ran Chipotle night, made $276. They have a Habit night coming up May 17th. And they had a cotton candy machine as a fundraiser. They couldn't keep up with making the cotton candy. They actually made $176. So wait a minute. So here's the thing, though. Next year, they want to do snow cones. I said, that's going to get ugly. I can see it already. It's just going to get ugly. The sophomore class is going to Dorney Park. We approved it tonight. And they're planning a Chipotle night and a Cups night. And then the freshmen have shirts they're selling. Unfortunately, they all agreed on a pattern, but now all of a sudden, after they were printed, they all think they're ugly, so nobody wants to buy them. So they're kind of stuck with them. And they're going to hold a Panera night, and they're going to Six Flags for their year-end trip instead of the beach. And Dorney Park, also the seniors did bring up to Mr. Marcella, because there was confusion going back and forth. They go to Virginia every year, the seniors, and they were concerned because they were told that they count as absences towards their absences, like where they might not graduate. And Mr. Marcel said, it's all taken care of, don't worry about it, just come see him. So I said, you're gonna see him, he ain't gonna be here. No, he explained it to him how it is worked. They'd misunderstood it, and he explained it to him. And then the last thing is, we found out what referrals actually are. Because we didn't know what referrals were. We thought like for jobs or something. We said to them, they are ideas that they want, okay?
That's what they are.
So one of the things was they want to work out, the desktops in the library are getting very old. So I told them that we put money in the budget for the infrastructure, but they said the equipment's getting a little old. They would like to see Chromebooks, and I said, well, we're working towards that too and everything else. That's why I said I think it's very good. The kid that's the technology person on the board is really good. I mean, he is very on board with a lot of different stuff, so. They brought up something else that's not, they don't know if it's being taught in one of the history classes, but they're gonna look at it, and I don't wanna go into it, it's just, they're gonna look into it because it might have been, one of the kids, two of the seniors said it is actually taught in a different class, it's the way the course is, so that's why it's not in the one course, but it's in the other course, so, and the last thing is on May 6th, they're having a cut-a-thon. I didn't get the name of the place, but if you, what? Palezza. Thank you. Please appreciate it. So if you want to go there and get a haircut, it would help them. And just one last thing I want to say about the students. I had to tell you something. Those groups. You know, we're going around to committees about taking committees down and everything else. That's one committee that, whatever way you look at it, it's got to stay right where it is and be the way it is, because it's a great relationship we have with those students, and we listen to them. And another last thing they did bring up, which I found very, very interesting.
That's like the fourth last thing.
No, I'm sorry. No, this is important. They brought up to Mr. Marcella that there's been graffiti in the bathrooms that's very, very nasty graffiti, and it's caught right away, and it's taken down right away. But it's become very disturbing to some of them. So we came up with some suggestions, and they also want to have a security committee. The students are going to put together their own security committee to work with the Board of Ed to tell them things that they feel need to be going into the school, which we thought was a great idea, so, thank you.
Thanks. Emily.
Okay, so just a little bit of follow-up on the shared services meeting, which you were all at, so I don't know if Jeff is planning on saying anything.
I wasn't going to, because I figured everyone was there and it would just be redundant and time-consuming.
No problem.
But are we getting the minutes of the closed session?
That's a good question. I wasn't aware that I should be.
Well, let's talk about it in closed session.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
So we are having another shared services meeting next month, and I just wanted to put it out there to the board again that I would like to discuss with our colleagues on the council of picking an aspirational area for the board and the council to work on together. Nothing that is.
What do you mean aspirational area?
So it doesn't involve like a particular service or contract, but like a big goal for Fairlawn. So I'll give you examples of things that we talked about I mentioned at the meeting. So community-wide pedestrian safety initiative. Clearly our kids are walking to the schools, but people are also walking to train stations. Everyone's a pedestrian in Fairlawn. This is something we could work on together over a period of time. A topic that came up is preventing violence. So violence happens in our schools, but it also happens in families, in the communities. There might be certain programs we want to pull out to the community as a whole, including our students. Green initiatives, some kind of, like I'm thinking community gardens, green buildings. These are things that we could possibly do together. And then another topic that came up was just helping people of Fairlawn learn how local government works and civic involvement and volunteering and kind of a push for civic engagement and two-way dialogue between local leaders and the community at large. So if anybody has any thoughts about any of those areas, if anything sounds particularly exciting to the board, it's super exploratory, I don't know where it's gonna go, but it's an idea that I think if we could pick one of those things and kind of try working on it together, it could be a good way to build relationships, really valuable to the community, useful message to our students to say that we're all kind of working together, and good for what we want to do for our schools. So that's one thing. The second thing is I did notice that the borough put on Facebook actually that they're encouraging people to sign up for Burbio, which is I think a private company that works with local governments and schools. Like our school district is on there right now, and you sign up for different calendars. So like right now I'm following the school district's calendar, I'm following the library's calendar, I'm following the rec center, could follow the community school. It informs, like gives you like a week's lineup of the events going on, and you can pick and choose which ones you want to get on. So this might be something to talk about in community relations, but I just wanted to ask our administrators while we're here if this is something to look into, because it looks like Burbio right now just pulls the generic information on the website calendar, so you can follow each particular school.
Is it B-U-R-B-I-O?
B-U-R-B-I-O, yeah, and the only reason I mention it is because it looks like it looks like the borough is pushing Fairlawn residents to use this for their services and programs, and our schools are already listed in there. And it might be something for the communications specialist next year, something that person can really look into. But I wanted to bring that up at the next shared services committee to learn more what their borough's doing, it so that maybe we can piggyback on that.
Is there a fee involved?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's a good question. Those kind of questions, yeah.
They have our stuff on there, so there's no fee, because they're pulling our stuff without.
No, but if you want to take it to the next step,
Right,
is
there
there a
you
fee
go.
for it?
Free level, I
Yeah.
think, for pay for the
Yeah.
next
It's a
level.
local
They're already
calendar.
pulling our stuff.
It's a local calendar.
Yeah, but if you, I don't know,
The calendar right now is like, there's no school on this day.
right.
That's it. There's not like sports events and,
They may just take it from
What
that
you-
calendar.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Take whatever you.
About this topic?
Right.
Well, it piggies back on technology meeting, but it is on
Okay,
that topic.
go ahead, and then at least
Just,
piggybacking.
It's my understanding that through our upgrades that are coming to the website, Brooke, please correct me if I'm wrong, that through the upgrades of the website, a lot of those things will be possible, and the upgrade will enable us to have users more easily access calendars and things of that nature. Am I wrong there, or did I misunderstand?
My understanding is the upgrade to the to the website should have more features. I'm not sure whether those features have been turned on, but I can certainly get back and let everybody know.
Okay. Yeah, because we might be able to do that already, so I wouldn't want to be redundant with that. Thank you.
Elise.
I was at the Economic Development Committee meeting this morning, and it was very interesting. I'm not gonna bore you with all the stuff that's going on. There'll be some new trees on River Road. But but it is very interesting stuff that's going on in town, and it lends itself to the shared services, you know, because there's a lot going on. They talked a little bit, they had, the zoning, I can't think of his name, it's like, Bolton or whatever came up, and he was talking about how businesses, you know, have to apply for like licensing and all of that. It's interesting to me. I don't know how interesting it is to anybody else, but they're very excited. Two meetings in a row. I straightened them out on last time consensus, and today they were talking about committees and things that should be in closed session because the public can't know them. And from my experience here, and Mr. Tedeschi is there as well, so we were like looking at each other, and then finally I just said something about, because they wanted to talk about something, and so I said they should put it into a committee, then the committee could discuss it because it was relating to contracts, you know, so we talked about that there's 6 or 7 things that you can do in a closed session that you could ask the public to leave, so they were all glad that I was there. It's very, I mean, it's interesting to me. Thank you for letting me do that.
Yeah, you're welcome. I knew you'd be a good fit, so. Oh, Cindy.
We had our special education committee meeting on April 18th. I sent the board members the PowerPoint presentation that was shown during the committee meeting. I just wanted to tell the public that it was an overview of the special education department, accomplishments of the 2017-2018 school year, changes for the 18-19 school year, streamlining of programs. Fair Lawn has a couple of programs that are named like the Bridges program, and the state doesn't recognize that name of the program, so they're streamlining the programs to be up to state code. They're not changing the programs. Programs will remain the same, it's just the name, so that if you are a special education parent and you happen to move out of district and enroll your child in another special education in a different district, the names of the programs will now all be the same. So that, you know, it can be noted in the IEP, and the people who would be seeing your child in a new district would be able to create an IEP that is conducive to what they were receiving here. He talked about professional development, and we had a lot of questions on the mental health initiative. I had brought up to him that I had heard some things at the shared services meeting about our mental health program that disturbed me quite deeply. So I just asked for clarification, which I was given, and our mental health program has helped a lot of children in the district. It's helped a lot of families in the district, and I'm sure it is only going to grow and be the good thing that it is. That is all.
Thank you, Cindy. Okay,
Sorry. Just Ann, Mark had asked, can I say something or no? Do I need to go up to the podium?
yeah, you need to go to the podium.
Okay.
Make you work for it.
Yeah. I just wanted to mark it out about the vaping.
Yes.
And it is right, it is something that we are working on developing. Barbara DeCaro, some of you know, she is a consultant for the district. She has brought in some materials and some videos and stuff like that for us to review, to look at implementing, but we have touched on it in our health, but we haven't had a full formalized lesson, but we have touched on it, so I just wanted to let you know that.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dawn.
Yeah.
Okay, I was asked to mention the carnival. They still need volunteers. So if you haven't signed up, when are you doing it? Saturday or Friday? You're not?
Friday, why, you want to be in the booth with me?
No, I'm doing it Saturday. I was gonna say yeah, but I'm gonna do it Saturday, so.
Friday, I think 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah, I'm doing it 5 to 7. But
I'll
they
see
still
you
need
there.
volunteers.
I think it's Friday and Saturday.
So if you're interested, you can go to the TJ Mills PTA page, and Ravid asked me to browbeat people into going, so I'm doing that. And that's it. The next meeting, monthly meeting, is 5/17 at 7:30 in this room, and we already talked about the shared services meeting on the 22nd.
I need one more meeting.
What?
I want to schedule a tech meeting.
Oh, okay.
Community relations.
I'm not doing anything right now.
What did it say, what did it say, May 22nd, shared services?
You said last month that it wasn't in April, it was gonna be in May.
What do we need to do?
I have things I wanna figure out.
Why don't you email me, and then we can set something up, because I'm not ready to talk about anything right now. So shoot me an email.
It's just scheduling, but okay, I will.
Okay.
Jake, we're gonna be scheduling an education meeting, but we're, an outside person that we have to make sure could come, so the date will be determined.
Okay. All right, Jeff, you wanted to do this?
Tech meeting, just for those on the committee. How are you with Thursday and May 24th? And if there are any other meetings the last week in May, if we could piggyback on those, or if people can make it earlier in the evening.
Concert at TJ,
Which night?
the 22nd and 24th.
So those days are out.
Well, if we can do it during the daytime.
Right, if we can, how about the 24th? The 24th, say 4 o'clock? Can people make that?
Well,
That way the concert isn't in, because my daughter's in that concert.
That's what I meant.
What time's the concert?
And I appreciate that, thank you.
What time's the concert? 7?
Yeah,
There's also a French, Hispanic, and Chinese National Honor Society ceremony at 6:30.
What time, what date?
I mean, it's Jeff, Elise, Mark, and Emily. If we can do a daytime thing, I
Right.
also just need
Then I
to
can do
know
it.
if the topic is something I need to have.
I think it's just what I gave you, so far I think that should be enough.
Okay,
I don't wanna, it's only a month, so to add anything else probably,
so maybe we can do like a 1 o'clock in the afternoon, or 2
Definitely
o'clock,
can.
or something like that.
No, at least works. It works.
Oh, what?
I haven't quite retired
Sorry,
yet.
Jeff, sorry.
You can do it like 4.
I got 12 years.
3:30, 4 o'clock?
The earliest I can be here is 3:30. Are you okay with that? Yes?
Can we do 3:30?
Emily?
May 24th, 3:30, technology.
The shared service is definitely the 22nd?
I may have a conflict, but I'll try to make it.
We're gonna need you there.
Well, listen, if you got a conflict, push it back to 4. Or whatever. You guys will figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
pencil it in for 3:30, and you guys just confirm it.
Tech meeting,
Yeah, shared services, that's definite, isn't it, Jeff?
yes, I thought we had it for the 22nd, right?
7:30?
Yes. And that is not a work session?
No. No.
Concert that night too.
The 22nd?
Is Abby and Chamber and in chorus?
Yeah.
They're performing, one they're doing a chorus with orchestra, and then the other day is chamber and band.
She's gonna have to miss Daddy for a night.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's not us, you gotta.
Right.
I'm advocating for your daughter.
I appreciate that. I'll let her know. As we said, 3:30.
You wanna, who's got all the dates right now? Somebody?
Yeah, I know.
Well, they get sent us anyway,
Over there,
so
the 24th.
I don't know why I put it in the calendar.
Was that it?
That was it.
Oh, okay, that's right, the education committee is gonna be,
Yeah, that's it.
He's gonna plan it.
yeah, okay.
There's no
I have
date.
to wait till.
Yeah, right, okay.
Till we get this.
Have a motion to recess into closed session?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. 5-minute break. It's gonna be a long night, we got a lot of